It's time for another lap around the track with all the latest in motorsports interviews. Sometimes we get bent feelings, but we can't wait for the Bent Fender podcast with your hosts, Nathan Conway and Wes Llewellyn.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Bent Fender podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Porkchop Conway, the driver of the number 40 stock car around here locally. With me, as always, Wes the Slider Llewellyn.
Slider?
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, I'll tell you, man. I don't know, but we're going to ask the guy.
That's something I've never heard of around a circle track.
Well, it's not. And you know why it's not?
Why?
Because today, we're going to bend some fenders for sure, buddy. Because we're going demo derby driving.
I am stupid excited about this.
Dude, I am too, man. And it's going to be something a little different, something that our fan base is not quite used to. Well, you know, I don't know. They might be used to it, running circle track sometimes. But, we want to try to keep that down to a minimum on the circle track. But when we get into the squared circle at the county fair, it's all bets off. By golly.
They might not know
We're
about
bringing home the steering wheel.
They might not know about it from the circle track, but I bet you they know about it from the bypass.
Yeah,
Because,
probably so.
People can't drive on the bypass.
No, they can't. But and they wreck all the time, man.
They do.
They do. And who knows better than I do? Working where I work.
But that's what it is. It's practice. It's practice for the demo.
Yeah. The problem is their cars never make it to the Demolition Derby. That's the thing, And insurance frowns upon that. So,
I would agree.
But yeah, man. A landmark episode for us. I kind of think so. And we got Tristan Baize coming on, and he's going to be going to tell us all about what goes through a normal demolition derby. He's had some success at doing it, and he's getting those Mad Dog awards, and those are kind of like hard chargers on the circle track, but it's the guy who pretty much creates a lot of the most damage and the most havoc on the track. So.
And like we've done in a couple episodes previously, he's won a lot of rookie stuff. He's new to it.
Yep.
But he's getting out there. He's making a name for himself, and it's going to be cool.
Well, that's what you have to do. These things don't take place every weekend. A lot, various places depending on where you live in the United States. Yeah, there might be 3 or 4 places demo derby in it.
Right.
With the demolition derby. But around here it's kind of few and far between, and that's not really a great thing. And that's kind of what, part of what we're trying to do here is raise awareness.
Yeah.
I feel like we should wear a ribbon or something. But
what color is a demo ribbon?
I don't know. Red, white, and blue, by golly, because these colors don't run.
Or just a Band-Aid.
Nothing, yeah, it's true. But nothing more American than wrecking your car.
No, absolutely
on
not.
purpose. But no, that's the thing, guys, is that's part of what this episode's going to be about is we're going to do something different. And we told you guys when we started this show that, we wanted to go through all walks of motorsports. And, this is one of those facets. And it's got a huge following, and it always has, since the 50s, the 60s when this stuff started. And then it got more mainstream in the 70s and the 80s. I remember growing up, going to the Hancock County Fair. That was the biggest night. The Davis County Fair ends on the truck and tractor pulls.
Right.
The Hancock County Fair always ends on the Demolition Derby, and it's the biggest. Well, it used to be a 2-night derby. On Friday nights, you had Hancock County residents only. The people that only lived in the county could Demolition Derby, and it was a full slate of cars. And the next night, it was open derby. And you'd have 150 cars. I mean, it was nothing. They'd run a stupid amount of heats and have a huge feature.
That's nuts.
And that's pretty cool. But like anything else, it's one of those things where, I was talking to a guy the other day about a little bit of it, and he was talking about how the rules are just so different from wherever you go, and everybody thinks that they got to do something different. And we see that a lot maybe in the circle track world. I mean, we have been talking about that for several episodes.
We have.
It's crazy to see that's impacting another facet of motorsports. Just getting everybody together on the same page. It's what we need to do. There's a call for this.
Well, and I don't want to take too much time away from what we're talking about, but
no.
I did see today on Facebook that Street Stocks are coming back to Windy Hollow.
They are coming back to Windy Hollow.
So I just saw a rules package online. That's all I saw.
Well, it's UMP stock car rules, and
Right.
that's kind of a basic set of rules. It's easy to go by. It's sanctioned by UMP, so it's easy to police that.
But again,
but the street
rules.
stocks, yeah, they are, and that's a standardized set of rules because every other track that runs street stocks are different.
Right.
So, so good. Put those out there. You can kind of build your car. It's fairly mainstream rules. It's above cruiser, but it's I think we're going to get some street stocks out there.
Okay, so
Friday.
I'm gonna take it back to demo.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, but hey, we never shy away from opportunity to promote racing and locally. Promote racing, and Windy Hall is going to have another big show Friday night. Windy Hall
guess the bottom
Speedway
line-
starting at 8:00 usually. I think hot laps at 7:30, racing
Yeah.
at 8. Cedar Ridge Speedway back this weekend. Going to be another big show there. I think they're having Rusty Bowl special.
I think so.
Rusty Bowl special, 500 to win, and and they are getting a slew of mini stock cars. I don't know where all the mini cars are coming from because, if you come to think about it, I don't see a whole lot of compacts going up and down the road anymore.
That's
where they're at. They're at Windy Hollow.
It is.
And they're on Cedar Ridge. So, there's a couple big shows coming up this weekend. This episode will come out Friday. Well, I don't even know what June calendar is now, but
the 7th, I think.
7th?
7th, I think.
9th? 27th?
Something. It's the 8th.
It's
We were being told
June the 8th.
the 8th.
June the 8th.
But
okay.
maybe, because you even mentioned this on the radio show this week, we Bent Fender Podcast has kind of helped some drivers maybe.
I did.
Maybe.
I did mention on the radio show, and as we've got Tristan, he's not on the mic yet, but he will be for his segment here in a few minutes, and we devote the whole center of the show to him. So we appreciate him coming up to the house, and we are not on field trip this week. We are sitting at the Conway kitchen table. The burgers are cooked on the brand new grill, so it's a pretty good day. But
this episode comes out Friday.
It does.
He demos Saturday
night.
So he's going to win.
Rockport Fairgrounds, Spencer County. Well, what I was getting at, and I'm going to say this to him, and I think he heard it on the thing, was on the video I shared of the live video. Cole Falloway came on the show, and the next time he ran, he won.
He won.
He won a feature.
He
won
did.
his very first feature.
Shane Sullivan.
Shane Sullivan was on last week. Great episode.
Mm-hmm.
We've been hearing some comments about that episode.
We
But
have.
you know what? Here's the deal. Here's what I'm going to say. I knew that we'd get an honest opinion out of Shane when he came on here. And he delivered.
He did.
He did. Here's the thing. People have their opinions. And people
True.
see things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some than other people do. Here's the thing. He wasn't bashing the track.
Nope.
He's going to support the track.
Yep.
And he's going to support the other drivers. So here's the thing, man. Everybody's got an opinion, and it's a guy who ain't afraid to speak his mind.
And anybody that knows Shane knows he's going to speak his mind.
Well, and he does, and he always has.
Yep.
And you commend him for that.
But
And I want you to. I want you to speak. I want you to say the truth.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because that's what this is. It's your episode. It's your opinion. Hey,
the
no matter.
opinions of the guest may not directly
No, they.
reflect.
Yeah, true. But the thing of it is everybody's got an opinion, and everybody's not going to agree with everything you say.
No.
Everybody's not going to agree with everything you do.
But you
can
don't want-
paint your car blue, your race car blue, and somebody is going to be mad that it's blue and thinks it should have been red.
You don't want to live in an echo chamber, though.
No, we don't.
You want differing opinions.
Yeah.
Because once you get differing opinions and you start having dialogues about those, we've talked about this before, this is how change happens.
It does. And
So-
see, and I really think, I do not think that, Jimmy has anything to be, hang his head about Windy Hollow this year.
No, it's
those
fantastic.
guys. They've only got to run a handful of races, but the track this weekend, people can't say enough about the track. I've talked to
Exactly.
2 or 3 people, and they can't say enough about the track. They ran the show in an efficient manner. Everybody was out of there at 9:00. Started at 6:30, out of there by 9. I didn't get to go, but I got to watch some of it on Facebook. Crazy good racing.
And there are super positive comments directed toward the Westerfields on Facebook
Absolutely.
about the track surface this
Absolutely.
week.
And there's
So-
as there should be.
Absolutely.
As there should be. But
So-
but if you are unhappy with the situation at the racetrack, maybe it's time to say something in a tactful manner. And things were done
Absolutely.
that way. Things were done that way. So if anybody has any problem with what Shane said, here's the thing. He's speaking his mind. That's what he truly believes.
Sure.
And he's not shying away from it. He doesn't back up from it. It's just like I talked to him last night. He goes, Chop, I think there's some butthurt people after that episode. I said, but you know what, man? It's real, it's raw, it's unedited, it's unfiltered, and that's what we like.
Absolutely. So. But he won.
He did win, and so that's what we were getting at.
He won.
He did.
He claimed the bounty.
He did claim the bounty on the wagon.
On the wagon.
And hats off to the Dockery and Brooks crew because they've got a great car. Mm-hmm. They really do. And the wagon's fun to watch. It's a wagon. It's a freaking wagon, man. It's great. So, how cool is that? So anyway, so now we're hoping to maybe throw some fairy dust,
some juju,
some podcast,
some magic
onto Tristan.
Yep.
And hope he does very, very well. As in, get the trophy, get the money, and run. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's what, and get the hurt on somebody. That's what we're talking about. So, man, we're rambling.
We are.
We're not rambling.
No, but we should talk about our stuff. Get our business out of the way.
I'm a rambler.
And then we need to get Tristan on the mic.
We do. Because he's given up his time. He's worked all day. So
apparently in the bowels of a ship or something.
A barge.
Yeah. He was all sweaty and stuff. He said.
Well, we're going to talk about quote unquote the barge.
Barge.
Because that's his car.
It is.
And he's going to talk about the old land barge. And man, I've seen pictures of it, and we're going to let you guys see pictures of it too. Coming this weekend. So when the episode comes out, as we always do for everyone. So
yep.
Don't you yip? What are you, a Muppet now? Are you on Sesame Street?
Maybe.
Dun, 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 dun. All right.
So we have sponsors.
So we do have sponsors. We have a lot of sponsors, and it's time to get to those sponsors.
We
in
love talking about our sponsors.
2, 1. Our sponsors go like this: Mach 5 Race Cars, Parts, and Carts. John Hayden and the crew down there on West 2nd Street. Go see them for all your racing needs, parts and different things, and especially if you want chassis, motors, whatever you need for your carts, they've got it. Fuel. Got to have that. Mm-hmm. Fairview IT Management, Gabriel Kirtley and the gang down there, taking care of not your race car, but your computer and your home security systems and your infrastructure. I think that's probably going to be
business.
Yes.
Business stuff.
But they do that. They are business oriented, and they do a lot of work for businesses. Now, Martin's Towing and Recovery, longtime friend of mine, longtime friend of the podcast and the racing car, as it were. Chad's Barbershop here in Whitesville, right out on 764, just past the IGA. Can't thank him enough for what he does, and great haircuts. Mm-hmm. Great guy. A lot of fun conversation down there. Glenstone Constructions was my father-in-law. He's come on the race car and been a big supporter of ours through at least the last couple of years. And Kevin Russell down at Slingshot Media can put your ads. If you've got a business that you want to advertise, you've probably seen the TVs out around the restaurants here in Owensboro. And I just talked to those guys yesterday, and apparently they are expanding quite heavily. Way more TVs, way more places to advertise. So you can get your business on there, and it'll run. From open to close from that business, that ad is running. So it's a good investment for you and your business. So also Red Star Graphics, designer of the business cards, the T-shirts, the accoutrement for the Conway Racing team. So
I hear he's a pretty good guy.
It is. It's as a matter of fact, it's Wes Llewellyn. So Wes is
would that be Wes the Slider?
Wes the Slider Llewellyn. We're gonna have to get a clarification on
just
that.
Checking.
Yes, that's the guy. And see him. He designs a lot of stuff for Slingshot Media as well. So he can make your business look muy bene, molto bene. I don't know. I'm not Italian, so whatever. So we're in Whitesville. So guys, support our podcast. Our sponsors for the race car. Our podcast sponsors: High Octane Racewear, Graphics, and Apparel. Josh Tyler and the gang down there, just down the street from Mach 5 Race Cars and Parts. You can go see them for all your apparel and wraps for your car. And also, who am I forgetting? Oh, Willie's Carburetor and Dyno Shop.
Don't forget them.
Yes, they are a podcast sponsor, specifically Billy Igler for helping us out, and those guys for coming on to the podcast. Now, if you want to find the Conway Racing Team, you can find us on Facebook, Conway Racing Team, Twitter, @Conway Race Team, Instagram, Conway Racing. On the website, www.conwayracingteam.com. Before we started recording, Wes is still updating the website. We are changing some things, overhauling, just like the show used to be, and that's with an N apostrophe, and that's the way we like to do it. Now, if you want to find the podcast, I can't imagine you wanting to find the podcast if you're already listening, but I want you to help your friends find the podcast, your family, your dog, your cat, whatever. You can find us on iTunes for the Apple people, Google Play for the Android folks, Podcast Addict, Podbean, which is our official hosting vehicle for the podcast.
It is.
Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, YouTube,
Facebook,
boom,
and our website.
Yes. So we've got it all. As always, just like we did last night, Regional Motorsports Power Hour. Blake Smith, we went to the radio show, had a great time, huge turnout. What other place can you go? It's just like being at the racetrack. They say a prayer. Rusty Allison says a prayer before the races, before the radio show. And also, we do the national anthem. Pretty cool.
Is it Leanne Rhymes?
It is not. It was a recorded version. No, I know. You can't. I don't know why we didn't have Leanne Rhymes. But it's an instrumental version. It was great. Everybody's standing. Good support for America because, by golly, we're Americans.
We are.
And so go see Blake Smith, Regional Motorsports Power Hour, every Monday from Maloney's in Owensboro. Maloney's
7 to 8:30.
7 to 8:30. You can find them on 102.7 ESPN The Game and 94.7 WBIO on your radio dial.
Mm-hmm.
If you come to the show, they have a special. Any 12 or 16-inch pizza or 12 or 18-inch pizza, something like that. Anything above a 12, 25% off.
Oh, okay.
So any specialty pizza. So, hey, great deal.
Good eats.
Good eats. It's good stuff. So, also, what else? Is that good? We covered it?
We're good. I think we need to bang some fenders.
We do need to bang
and
some fenders.
Door panels and bumpers.
You can't, as long as it's not in the driver's door.
Well, passenger door.
Yeah, we can bust that off.
Okay.
Yeah, he's shaking his head. Tristan's shaking his head. He knows what's up. So he's going to come on and tell us all about it. Tristan Baize is coming on here in just a minute. So if you guys are going to go ahead and put your helmets on, and you don't need to put your strap in real tight.
Maybe even a mouth guard.
Yeah, because we're going to go forward and reverse.
We are.
And we're going to hit some stuff. And we're going to hit it really hard. So when we come back, we're going to be back with Tristan Baize.
Are you looking for a hometown barbershop specializing in the best haircuts in Western Kentucky? Master Barber Chad Thompson has everything you need to keep you looking sharp for not only your special occasions, but for every day as well. Offering a line of hair care products to take care of your hair between cuts. Walk-ins are welcome, and you're always going to find friends and neighbors at Chad's. You can find him at 10655 Kentucky 764 in Whitesville, Kentucky, or give him a call at 270-903-8183.
And we're back. Well, guys, we told you it was going to get rowdy, and we're not talking about getting wild on the holler. We're finna bend some fenders, just like I told you. So I'd like to welcome in now Tristan Baize, buddy. You coming on? You're a flagship Demolition Derby driver, and man, we hope we can get a good episode because I know you know a lot and you got a lot of knowledge to tell us. And welcome to the show, man.
Thank you all for having me.
Well, you're welcome, buddy. And when we got to talking about stuff we wanted to do. I was talking to my wife, and I guess she knows we know some mutual people that she's like, hey, I know a guy that's into Demolition Derby. I was like, well, I mean, we need to contact him. There's no question about that, and we did, and you've been gracious enough to do it. So, what, buddy, just tell me, how long have you been into it, man? When did you get into Demolition Derby, or how did it all start out?
The first time that I ran was back in 2011, but that was I held off for 5 years and then got back into it in 2016. I ran one that season, and then 2017 I actually ran like 3 or 4 times. Right. And this will be this season. Hopefully I get to run all year too.
Yeah, well, that's good because those cars aren't. They're not easy to build, and we're talking about we understand the way it is from the stock car world. And having to build a circle track car, there's tons and tons of work that goes into building a Demolition Derby car.
Yeah, it takes tons of hours and weeks and months.
Months? Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot more into it than the crowd thinks.
Yeah. Well, before we get into building a car, and I want you to take me through that journey here in a minute. We talked about you got into it, I guess, 2011, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about. When you were a kid, take it back to then. Can you remember going to Demolition Derbies? Is that how it all started out? Did you start going to motocross races and then eventually, that you saw a derby, or how did it all start for you?
Yeah, I just lived just a couple blocks from where our county fair was, so
right.
Every year we'd go watch, and I was coming back down the hill to go continue watching the Derby, and I just seen a half-track shot, and this car got flipped over, and ever since then I've been hooked.
But and that's that's something we see where it is dangerous. You are running into another vehicle with your vehicle, but those half-track shots are full track shots, man. When they load up and just go full hog and hit them, and they turn them over and all kinds of stuff, and it's good when they don't get hurt, but the crowd just goes nuts for that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of why I became the type of driver that I have been these past few seasons too, because I know that's the shots I like to watch, so I try to put that on for the crowd, and I've actually got, out of 8 runs, I've got 3 Mad Dogs.
3 Mad Dogs? So,
yeah,
and
I really should have 4. I think I got cheated out of 1, but we won't go there.
Cheating? In Demolition Derby?
Oh, yeah.
No. Man, we hate cheaters. No, it's okay. But, listen, for everybody that doesn't know what a Mad Dog is, and I kind of went over it, but, I'm probably far off the mark, but a guy that's got those awards, tell us what that is.
It's pretty much just the most aggressive driver, the one doing the most hitting, the hardest hitting.
So you get out, you try to. Of course, that's the thing. You're there to win,
Yeah.
obviously, and I know you want to do that, but you want to be a crowd pleaser too.
Yeah.
You want to be the guy who's getting that cheering section going and people just going nuts up there. It's because the way you're driving, the way you're smacking people.
Yeah, being a rookie, these past couple seasons I hadn't had the equipment all these veterans got, so if I kind of feel like I'm about to be put out, I'll just start laying track shots on people for the crowd.
Well, it's a game. It's a game you have to play out there. We talk about racing and stock car racing and how you have to, you don't just have to race the guy next to you or the guy behind you in front of you. You have to race the racetrack. You have to, put your equipment where it needs to go. Do you see a lot of similarities coming, into a derby to where you guys got you like to go out and walk the track, or you like to see how if it's going to be muddy, if it's going to be a little bit dry. Do you strategize that way? Do you have to a lot of things you have to take into account?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if everybody does, but like if it's been a real rainy day, I've went out on the track and tried to find the holes and the low spots and make sure that I don't go to them spots on the track.
So you go ahead and walk it, and I know no track's gonna be perfect because a lot of derbies I've seen they like to just mud it down so bad, you know what I mean, and I know that's to keep the speeds down and get everybody to where they're just spinning, but. Do you like a heavy track, what we would call a heavy track, which would be real sloppy, or do you like more of a dry track?
I like a dry track, really.
Is it more conducive to the way you drive, or do you feel like you can really get a better performance that way?
I feel like you can just worry about watching and seeing all the other drivers and trying to think of their next move instead of having to worry about where you're going to get stuck or.
Right. Well, now, you guys, I don't think, do you all wear restraints, or do you guys just sit in the seat?
Yeah, some guys, they used to get fancy with it and wear their 6-point harnesses and stuff, but I just wear a lap belt.
Just a lap belt?
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of guys, and I've personally seen this from shows and things like that, but, carburetor linkage brakes or something like that, and the guy's leaned out the windshield working the throttle with his hand.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Also, like if their car's stalled, they'll be up there trying to turn the distributor back or forward, depending on how to start. Yeah.
well, we would never dream of doing something like that. I mean, we kind of set the timing and go with it, but that's pretty cool that tips and tricks of the different things that you guys can do. But I want you to get back to talking about preparing for a derby, and you're at the track and you go walk the track. Do you guys have and I don't want you to tell anybody any secrets or anything, but do you guys get I know I need to run some air pressures like this, or I need to run this like that, or different things on your car to adjust to the track, or do you guys just like, well, this is the way it's going to be?
Some guys might do like some tire changes and everything, but I think by the time everybody gets to the track, they're pretty well set up.
So they kind of know, or they've run this track before, or something like that. They kind of know, they've got an idea.
Yeah.
You know? So do you find it an advantage? I mean, when you go to another track or a different track or the same track, do you feel like you might have an advantage over some new guys?
No, not really, because you never know what's going to happen out there. Sometimes it's got a lot to do with luck, because anything could happen out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any little thing to your car could go wrong, and you won't know till then.
Well, and 100 different things have to happen, to keep that car going. Because I mean, in effect, I mean, what we're doing or what you're doing, I've always wanted to do it, but what you're doing, I mean, you're going to tear this thing up. It's to smash the other guy so bad so he has to quit.
Yeah.
So do you, when you're out there racing, do you think about strategies of, I need to use up the rear end of my car first, I need to protect my front end, I need to make sure that score as many points as quickly as possible, or something, stuff like that? Is that stuff you think about?
Yeah, I try not to take any tire shots and use my trunk as much as possible. Not hit too hard with it though, because if you do, it could blow the humps out.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the frame horns, the frame rails over top of your rear end.
Yeah.
So
if you take a bad shot to the trunk, it could.
They can fold down or up.
Yeah.
Is there a strategy to that? I've always seen a lot of guys, especially the station wagon guys. They'll go ahead and mash the top of the roof in just a certain way and try to get those cars to where they'll bend how they want them to bend, because they're going to bend.
Yeah.
But do you try to make sure your car bends the way you want it to bend?
Yeah, there's certain techniques and things to do to make the car bend the way you want it to, and certain hits, how you hit to make it bend the way you want it to.
Well, I mean, that's pretty, because see, you think about...
I'll give you all a kind of like because everybody knows this if they derby, but to make our trunk go up instead of down to the ground, we notch it out.
Oh, yeah.
Just cut a notch out of the frame, and then it'll help it roll up.
So now, do you guys leave the notch in it, or do you go ahead and
you just
kind of reinforce it to where it's gonna bend, but you got it so it doesn't break before you get to,
Well, there's two different ways. Notching is you take it all the way out, and dimpling is you just heat it up with a torch and beat it down with a ball peen hammer.
Oh, and that'll get the desired effect, I guess.
Yeah. Of
what you see there. Well, I want to start with. We talk about starting. Heck, we're part of the way in the episode, but
well,
I want you to go through.
I'm actually going.
Hey, what are you doing on here?
I have a mic now.
Wes is.
I'm sorry.
He's hijacked the episode. No,
I have.
okay,
no.
Go ahead.
I just had to come in real quick because Demolition Derby is brand new to me.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Demolition Derby. So.
Well, this is the guy to ask.
It is. So circle track. You run a number of laps around the track until you cross the finish line.
Yeah.
And that's the winner. And there are points that are earned and everything like that. Is that the same in Derby?
Kind of like some guys. Well, I don't know any around here that does it anymore, but there used to be like a point series, like a promoter would put it on, and he'd have so many different derbies that year, and he'd add up all the points like out of the place you would finish each derby.
So is it kind of a series you have to run, or is it just the single one at the night?
Just so many derbies that promoter has that year.
So now, just a second ago, you said, you want to see how many points you can get. So if it's not that the promoter doing that, is there something in a just a standard derby where you're earning points for the hits you take or anything, or the hits you give?
No, you're just trying to finish first, second, or third that night.
I got you. All right. So.
Well, yeah, I was wondering about the point system and how it differs. And we'll get into some of the rule stuff here in a little while, but how it differs from each promoter, I guess. Do they have their own way they do stuff, or way they score derby, or the way they? I know there's time limits on certain things, and the way you got to hit somebody, or time limits to hit someone. But does that change from each promoter, or does it change from place to place?
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are trying to stick to the same rules each year, but then you got a few others that want to go by their own rules, so it's pretty much all different wherever you go.
How many derbies are in a season?
It just really depends on how much money you got and how many you want to go run.
There you go.
So, I mean, if with Circle Track, I mean, for the most part, every weekend, if you want to drive, you can go to a race somewhere. So is that the same with Derby?
Just about, probably, depending on how far you want to travel,
Okay.
I'd say.
Cool.
When you get into, I guess what, a lot of people associate demolition derbies, and I know there's a lot of standalone derbies and things for charity and things like that, but you equate demolition derbies with county fairs.
Yeah.
That's some of the big things.
Yeah, so whenever there's a county fair, there's a derby going on. So if you find them, I'm sure they're going on every weekend over the summer.
Well, now you talk about, I guess you said 8 times you've got out so far. What's your typical lifespan on a car?
Well, the one I just scrapped, me and a buddy ran it for 2 years, 2 seasons. But it only lasted that long because probably the first 3-4 derbies we had in it, he didn't do too well. And then I ran.
Listen to here now.
I ran it like another 3 times after he did. And
See, that's a driver talking there.
That's the first car that I placed in, though. I got 3rd place in Chandler.
Yeah. Now, were you up at did they hold that up the Speedway or did it was the fairgrounds?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty good run. I mean, thinking back on where you've started, how you started out, and you haven't run that many times, I guess in the Derby world, to gain some success like you've done fairly quickly, that says something about you. I mean, it does to me.
Yeah, I've talked to a few guys that have been derbying for years, and they compliment me on my driving. So, I think in some years I'll be pretty good.
Now, we want to ask you about that. These guys compliment you on your driving. Do you smack those guys, or are they getting smacked by you, or are they just watching?
One of them's been smacked. That's it. But the other one, I used to build with him, and he just was in the stands watching me, and then after told me that I'd done a good job.
So Nathan referred to your car earlier as the land barge. What kind of car do you drive?
This year I've got a 1979 Lincoln Town Car.
So how far from stock is that? How much do you do a lot of reinforcing to the body, or is it just drive it, get it and go?
Well, I tell you what, start out. You guys got this '79 town car. All right, you got this thing, and you were telling us, I guess it runs and drives when you got it, right? And take us through, start out how you got it, and then where you are right now. How'd you get to the point you're at? I mean, take us through building a demolition derby car.
I think I found the car on Facebook. It was for sale on WeCrash, and then I ended up having to take I think it was like 30 minutes north of Indy. I had to go to get it.
A little bit of a drive.
Yeah, so all around it was 8 hours.
Wow. So you get it. Did you drive it home or did you trailer it home?
We trailered it home.
I'd have been rolling down the road in that piece, man, just see what's up. But
yeah, we had this on the way back too. We had this guy flying past us with like a trailer full of rocks or bricks, and tire blew out and it straight smashed to the ground. Sparks were flying and he was swerving. But yeah, anyway.
He almost demoed it before he got it home, by golly.
Yeah. But then you get it home, you strip it out, and then
so that's all you're stripping out, like all the stuff you don't need.
Yeah, all the interior, the plastic parts on it, the windshield, the windows. Then you put your cage in and you start going by the rules of the promoter. The promoter I run from is Iron Outlaw Promotions. They allow 3x5 plates on your car. Fresh ones are allowed 4 plates. So
now you get
they're pretty far from stock after they're built.
Oh yeah, I would say so, because I mean, you can't take you can't take a car just off the road, and go out there. I guess you could theoretically, but you're not going to do quite well, without the modifications. Do you run a modified class, or is there a class like below you that's more stock, or?
There are classes that are below us, and there's ones that are called kicker cars. They're pretty much outlaw cars. But ours is called stock, but it's not stock, so I kind of call it like a limited weld.
Limited weld.
Yeah.
Well, so you get this. So you get the barge home. You float it up into the port there, and you've got her gutted out. Now, when we think about and everybody listening, is going to think roll cage, and they're going to think we put 8, 16, 20 point cages, 24 point cages in these cars. Mm-hmm. We've got it welded everywhere. But now your car, you guys aren't allowed to do that, right?
Right.
And so you can't put a full roll cage. But I saw from the pictures, you've got the big rollover bar made out of big like 3-inch square tubing.
Yeah.
But what all can you put in to a roll cage? What all goes into y'all's roll cage?
They call for a 4-point cage. You can either use 3x3, 2x6, or 4x4. And for my door bars, I've got 2x6. It's like a 1/4 inch thick. Mm-hmm. And then I've got 3x3 throughout the rest of the car.
Right. So now you're not. I mean, guys, he's not talking about wood here. He's talking about solid steel, and so you can. So now, do you guys have to put? You guys don't build a 4-point. What we would call a 4-point in 4 corners, and then you run door bars, do you? Or do you run like what we would call a halo? It's just one loop bar behind you, and then you guys run your bars down, or?
Yeah, that's what we call it as a halo bar. It comes, well, I guess you could put it wherever you want, but I run it off my door bars and then up over the roof.
Okay. So now you guys can run are your door bars diagonal, or can you connect them straight?
Some guys like them straight. I like mine high up in the front and then down low to the back.
Oh, so that way you're more protected, I guess, from a shot to, the fender front of the door area.
Yeah.
You're going to be more protected there because, we touched on this, but we talk about driver's door shots and how they're dangerous. They're very dangerous, but also not allowed in most derbies.
Yeah, I've actually been hitting the driver's door. It bruised my arm a little and bent the cage.
Wow.
Yeah.
You get hit by another land barge?
Yeah, I think it was an Impala,
Ooh.
like a old '60s model.
Man, those cars are tough.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tristan. Real quick, I want to throw it to a commercial because when I come back after the break, we want to stay on this vein and we want to continue talking about you building your car. Okay, so we'll be right back with Tristan Baize.
For most of us, our lives revolve around our computers. From banking and paying your bills to organizing and storing your photos. You need your computer to just work. If computer problems are driving you crazy, call Fairview IT Management at 270-228-4339 and they can get you back on track with one phone call. You can also find Fairview IT Management online at www.fairviewitm.com.
And we're back from the break and continuing. I was stuck on the berm over here. I got pushed over the wall by Tristan, and Wes had to come out and bail me out.
Well, speaking of Wes or me,
yeah,
I'm talking on this episode because our equipment came in.
Yeah,
and
sadly.
Thanks, I appreciate that. No, I wanted to jump in and interject some, so that way I was helping.
I guess we should have told people that.
Those of us who've never been to a derby or who aren't that experienced with derby, I was just trying to help get some information out there, so that way we were all on the same track. So I will keep
Is that a pun?
It was. I will keep my participation to a minimum.
No. You don't have to. And guys, that's the thing. We wanted to kind of be a surprise because, we'll tell you about it at the end of the episode. Why it was a surprise. Because we're taking Tristan's time here. So, Tristan, we were talking about before the break. We're building this wagon here that we got going on, and you got your car home, and we're starting to put the cage in it. Tell us about suspension-wise and different things that. Do you guys have to modify the suspension? We knew you had to modify the frame, but talking about the suspension.
Yeah, we have solid suspension. You jack the car up, and then you take strapping and you weld your A-arms down to your frame, so it's solid.
So now is it, what kind of strapping are you talking about? Is it just like
metal strapping 2x2?
Okay. I didn't know if you could put, some people weld roll bar pipe in them or different stuff like that. Or
No, you can't do that. It's like flat bar, I guess you would call it.
Oh yeah. Now, do you guys keep the springs in them, or I mean, I know you're probably going to lose the shock because what's the point, right?
Yeah,
but
we keep the springs in them.
Just to have some more stability there with in case it breaks the strapping.
Yeah.
So now, all right. So now we've got your strapping welded into the A-arms on the front. What are we looking at rear end wise? Can you guys run? So you're going to have a fairly decent rear end under this one's going to be a Ford rear end. But do you guys have to modify the rear end? Do you get to lock them, or do you weld them up, or what do you have to do?
Yeah, if you don't have a locker in it or a full spool or mini spool, you can weld your spider gears up so you're posi. But actually, I don't have a Ford rear end in this car. I took the 9-inch out and took a 14 bolt out of a 79 Chevy.
Oh, big. Yep.
Yeah, and I took 3x3 square tubing and braced it up, and I've got axle savers on them.
Mm-hmm. So now, do you guys, we think about how a rear end mounts in a car. Usually 4 mounting points, 4 trailing arms will hold a rear end in. But so now, do you guys replace those with that square tubing, or is it, how do you have to make it solid, I guess, so your car rides that way?
You used to be able to shove bars up in it and weld it in there to make it stiffer, but our rules don't allow that anymore, so you can't do nothing to them.
Wow. So, but where do you put your, when you weld them up, do you take the springs out and weld, square tubing where the springs used to be, or can you just weld it to the frame to hold it?
I've got square tubing, and I left my springs on it too, and then I just ran all thread through that square tube and welded it to it.
There you go. So that's, you think about how much different this is when we talk about suspension and how suspension will win races and different things. Lack thereof could win races as well.
Well, and I think it also, the handling of the car itself is going to be different.
By a long shot.
When you guys are working on, getting the car to slide around the track for the most part, they're wanting it to be much more solid.
Yeah.
Tank-like.
Right? Is that what we're going for here is, because I've seen them when they unload them off the trailers, and man, they just are stiff as a board, man.
Yeah, that's why they bounce, is because they got that solid suspension. It's kind of a rough ride going across the field.
Yeah, I guarantee you.
Wearing nothing but a lap belt, mind you.
Yeah, and a helmet, and he got to be Joe Cool. He's got sunglasses on. He got sunglasses on. But okay, so now we've got the suspension in the car, right? We're happy with that. We're looking at motor-wise now. Huge part of the Derby, your motor transmission. Without that, they don't run. So, anything special that we, and don't tell any secrets, obviously, but anything special that we're doing in that area that's different than what we would do on a circle track?
I wouldn't think so, because you all probably run Chevy 350s, don't you?
Yeah, most part, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say probably 90% of the Derby guys run small block Chevys. But there is this builder out of Illinois, Jeff Collier. He's building these engines right now, and they're going to all the big shows and winning, so I don't know what he's doing different, but he's got the secret.
I bet he's not going to tell us.
No.
But I bet...
Jeff, if you're out there and you want to put an engine in Tristan's car, I think he'll take it.
I think he would definitely take it. And it's definitely a guy that we could get behind, and you could get behind with a Derby engine. So
absolutely.
Why is the 350 so popular, or 305s? I mean, I'm assuming 350s is the thing, but
I think because they can handle the heat, and for us, the distributor's in the back, so it's not going to get smashed by your radiator or your hood coming in.
So it's a tactical advantage, partly because of the location of the distributor. As most people know, on a Ford engine, they're on the front.
Yeah.
You know, and different Buick engines and Olds engines, they were in the front. But do you guys run? We've heard about marine blocks, the stuff that have the real thick cylinder walls and things like that to prevent, you know, because at some point you're going to run them out of water.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of guys running them. I haven't myself, but...
So you just got a normal stock 350-ish?
Yeah. It's kind of like a cheaper version of the GM Goodwrench crate engine.
Is it?
But it's Mexican built.
Well, some of those...
They call them a Mexican 350.
Yeah, they had those. Those are a thing. And that's pretty crazy how it's kind of, you know... Most circle track guys, we kind of stay away from that stuff, but we like the good old Detroit stuff. But hey, what works, you know.
I haven't had any problems out of it. I'm actually about to buy another one because a guy shot me a good deal on one, so I like it enough, and I've never had any problems out of it. It's always been other little things, but my engine's always still been running at the end.
So now, you know, what are we looking at? You know, we know what we can build a circle track motor for, but what are we looking at if a guy wanted to get in to Derby, and what's a good base price he's looking at for building a Derby engine? I mean, ballpark, you know.
Probably a good price for a decent one, probably be around $3,000 or so.
Wow, I guess I'm not taken aback by that, considering I know what guys put in engines, you know, to run in a circle. And yeah, we tax them, you know, every lap, but we don't run them out of water either. We're not trying to run them at, you know, 300 degrees and make them last for an hour, you know.
Yeah.
But you gotta have good equipment, you know what I mean? And you seem like you've learned that over the years.
Yeah.
Where is do you run a fuel cell? Do you run a gas tank?
I run a fuel cell.
And obviously, with a lot of the stock cars I've seen, the fuel cell has been in the trunk. Mm-hmm. We probably don't want it there in a Derby car.
No, we put it in the back seat.
And I know, again, with stock cars, we move the battery from the engine to inside the car somewhere in the back seat. Same thing with your battery?
We put ours either on the dash bar. Some guys do that. I put mine in a box made out of 2x2 angle, and it's got all thread up the sides of it, and then you strap it down to the floor.
Well, I mean, you definitely don't want it to move. I mean, you know, I got in a situation where I turned a car over one night at Western Kentucky Speedway, and you know, the battery came flying out of the box in the back, because it's usually sitting in behind me in the back seat, and it hit the dash and put a huge dent in the dash and busted the battery automatically. I mean, I could see where that could be a very big hazard, you know, in your situation as well.
Yeah, that's why we've got them bolted to the floor, and then that all thread has strapping that sits over the battery, and you snug it down real tight so it can't move at all.
Well, now, you know, you're talking about your fuel cell. Do you normally... Now, we run fuel cells that have, you know, they've got a plastic bladder inside of them.
Yeah.
And then we've got a steel can that goes around them. You guys don't quite run that type of fuel cell, do you? Do you run boat tanks, or how does it go?
I don't know anybody that runs ones like that, but we do run like the older style, I guess you could say, fuel cells.
So nobody's pulling the tank out of the cars and sticking it in the back seat with the big filler neck sticking out the back of it.
No, you've either got to have like an old metal gas tank or fuel cell or something like that.
We've seen, I've seen people run beer kegs before, I think.
Yeah.
Aluminum ones, you know. So now we got our fuel cell in, right?
Battery bolted down.
Hey, we're building a car here, so let's build a car. And we got the battery bolted down. We got our engine in, so you see a lot of the guys, and why I've always thought Derbying was cool was because those guys run those 180-degree headers, sticking through the roof with the flappers on them, look like a semi-truck. But do you run those, or do you run different types of them, or?
Yeah, I've got some pretty tall ones. They're like 36 inches tall, so they're as high as my roof is.
Why not? You know what I mean? By golly.
I just like the look of the tall ones.
They do look cool, man. And, everybody's got their own... Everybody's got their own formula, I guess, because some people run the zoomies, which each pipe, 4 pipes on each side, but some guys run the big collectors hanging up. Is there an advantage to doing that? I mean, I know you guys probably couldn't run a manifold under the car, but is there an advantage to that?
I don't think there is, really. I just think it's for looks.
He's also not going to melt his shoes.
That's true.
Okay.
Quit. Sorry,
No,
I'm just playing.
But obviously, you wouldn't want to run them too short.
Yeah. Well, we talk about back pressure on engines and different stuff. We got to run headers. Well, we don't have to run headers, but I run headers in my class. But there's a certain amount of pipe that you have to have, to make sure that you don't get that you get the proper back pressure and your motor runs correctly. That's why I was getting at that. See if there's an advantage to why those guys run those big tall stacks on them. You got flappers on yours?
I used to, but I don't have them on this set.
I'm kind of disappointed that he doesn't have the flappers on.
But yeah, I do like them too. I agree with you. That's one of the things I liked about them when I was growing up.
Because you see a guy and you're like, that doesn't look correct. You know what I mean? But these guys are, got those big flappers going up there shooting fireballs out, which is usually a bad thing, but,
Still looks cool.
It does look cool. So now, take me through transmissions. That's one of those things where, that thing's going to take some punishment, especially with a frame bending. Do you have to do anything special for your transmissions?
We got some guys have steel bells and steel tails on them, and they got the whole center section braced up. But that's why last year, I think it was, or the year before, I ended up breaking one of my bells all the way in half, all the way around. And so this year I upgraded to a steel bell and a steel tail. Our rules don't allow the brace in the middle, though, so I haven't got that yet.
Right. So you're still running an aluminum body, regular, is it a Turbo 350 or a 400?
It's a 400.
Okay. So, so you guys can reinforce the bell housings and the tail shafts. Talk about your drive shaft. Is there anything special you have to do for drive shafts, or?
Yeah, we run I was telling you all earlier about it. It's called a slider. It's kind of like a telescope. It slides in and out. So once the car smashes, it'll either come in or go out.
So is it almost...
that way you can keep going.
And are they pretty, fairly reliable or pretty strong? Or you guys have problem breaking drive shafts a lot? Or?
Yeah, there's a few guys that make them, so I think they've got it down pat on what they need to do to build them right.
Right. So that's a specialty piece that you can get, that guys build for these things.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's clearing up a misconception that I have about Derby is, what I've learned from circle track and everything, you've got chassis builders, you've got motor builders, and these are guys that do this professionally. And from my misconception, I just thought Derby guys, did it themselves. I didn't, see that side of it, going over into what you're doing as well. But I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a whole different story nowadays than what it used to be. You used to just knock the windows out and go, but it's kind of like a whole new ball game now.
Well,
like my transmission, it actually came all the way from South Dakota.
Huh.
His name's Mike Duenwald, and he builds it specifically for Demolition Derby. Just put specialty parts in them.
Right. So now, how do you keep? We know, your engine's going to be cooled by the radiator and the fan. But your transmissions, I always heard about guys that would run coolers in their car, like actual beer coolers, and loop their lines in there and put ice bags in them and all kinds of different stuff. But is that a misconception, or is it do you have a better way to do it these days?
No, guys still use ice boxes for their tranny cooler, but I just right now I was gonna make one this year and see how it worked, but I ended up just doing it how I usually do it, and I bolted up and put a fan on it.
Wow, a fan on your
Transmission? Yeah.
So
not the transmission, it's
Oh.
a transmission cooler.
Oh, okay. So like what we would see in a car that would sit in front of a radiator and pump the transmission through it, transmission fluid through it.
Yeah.
But you guys can just put like an electric fan on it, or
Yeah, it's you just run your lines into the car and sit it behind your seat or something, and it's only about, I don't know, it's big enough it's not too big.
okay.
So
Well, I got a lot of flack from my crew chief this year, and I used to have a transmission cooler in there, and it ran through 3 times. It had 3. Well, I bought a new transmission cooler this year, and I think it goes through it 8 times now. So this thing we could probably put it on a semi-truck. It's huge.
It's big. It's very big.
It is, but here's the thing. It's important. You got to keep that transmission cool because, heat will kill it just like it will kill an engine.
yeah, I'd say mine's probably only like a 8 inches wide and then maybe 10 inches long.
All right. And do you find that works fairly well?
I haven't had any problems out of it. Like last year, I gave one of my transmission, I put it through a lot, just jamming gears, and it still held up.
Well, there you go. That's good stuff, man. Because we talk about equipment, and that's what we're talking about now. But your stuff's got to last, and a typical derby is anywhere from how long to how long?
I've seen them last for 3 hours down at Sturgis, Kentucky, at their indoor show, but that's because it was a team show, and I think it was for $10,000.
Ooh,
Yeah.
So it was a 3-hour derby.
Yeah, the feature was.
Wow.
I think there was maybe like 5 or 6 different teams in it.
Dang. So now that was a team event.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. So before we get into a typical derby day, what else do we need to do to our car now? Now we've got. Well, I'll tell you what. What's our seat going to look like? Do you guys run just a regular racing seat?
Some guys, I don't know if they do anymore, but they were running racing seats. I just always keep the stock one in it.
Just a stock bucket seat, or do you guys have a bench and you just cut the rest of it off? Or
No, just the regular seat, whatever comes in it.
reclining seat? No, my
They
God.
are comfortable.
But you do have a seat bar, so it won't go back or anything. I've watched a video on YouTube. You might be able to find it, but this guy doesn't have a seat bar, and his seat ends up breaking, and he's just flopping all around.
Still trying to drive the car too.
Yeah.
So we've got our seat in the car. Now let's talk tires. Now I know that where in the stock car world, tires are a big deal, and everybody's trying to get advantage on certain types of tires and different things that you can run. But you guys run a completely different type of tire than we've ever thought about.
Yeah, we like to run the thicker tires. I've got an 8-ply for the front, and I think my back ones are 6-ply.
So, are they? Do you have air in your tires? We've heard guys about liquid filling, and some guys running solid tires.
I've seen guys liquid fill them, but I don't do it. I just I used to put a tire inside my outside tire, and then put a tube in that.
So you're running a tube, a smaller tire, and then a bigger tire.
Yeah. But now I've got thicker tires, so I'm just going to put a tube in it and go.
Well, so now, do you have, do people, can they get specific derby tires? Are they cut for derby, or is there like different cuts that you would run on a mud track versus a little bit, drier track, or what all goes into that?
Some guys used to run little tractor tires on the back of their cars, but I like to run, I guess they would come on like I don't know, maybe like a skid steer or something, but they got real big treads on them,
Mm-hmm.
so they can dig for the back. And then my front tires are like forklift tires, pretty much.
Forklift tires.
Yeah.
So you guys run like real small tires, or you run like the big forklift tires?
They're only 15s.
15 inch.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about just a little baby look like a lawnmower tire
No,
on there.
no.
Well, you've seen those guys. They come out there and they got those little bitty baby wheels on them, man.
Yeah, that's how the mini car guys do them. They put those on the back.
Because all it needs to do is roll.
Right.
Basically they're front wheel drive. Now, with you're going to have some meat back there. because it's a rear-wheel drive car, and you guys are making 300 or 400 horsepower out of these engines. So I mean, you're going to have to get it to the track to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, I run the big cars, so we need all 4 tires.
Now, are you guys allowed to, I guess, weight your cars at any point? Can you add weights to them? You can put different things in there to hold them, to get more traction?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
I think probably the cage is enough.
Is it, though, because, or lack thereof, all right, so now are we complete on our car now? Are we ready to go derby, or is there anything else we need to do to the body, the bumpers? I know you're not supposed to have big, pieces sticking off and things like that. You're supposed to.
Yeah, you can run loaded bumpers, like you can take a skin off of a bumper and put like square tubing and stuff inside it, so it's not going to bend, or you can just get like an old steel bumper off of an Impala or something. And we put all thread in the core support, and that just gets your radiator up higher, so it's not hanging below your bumper.
Oh, so you guys go ahead and try to move your radiators up some to where, something doesn't come up underneath, or if you go up on the top of another car or something.
Yeah, because some guys like to run their trunks real low, so I think that putting that all thread in the core support keeps that from happening.
So now, can you guys adjust that during the night, or you just guys get it at a level you want it and just leave it?
Yeah, we put it at a level we want it and leave it.
Does that affect the performance of the car or the cooling, when you move your radiator? Or do you have to do anything different with the fan, or does you just build a certain shroud to run it that way?
I don't know. It could maybe let a little more air in there, but we're not moving very far, so I don't think it would do too much to it.
All right. So now we're built up. Wes has got his car now.
I'm ready to go.
He's ready to go derby. So we're going to get to the track and walk us through, because I know one big, huge part of these things is tech.
Yeah. So
now you guys have a certain amount of time that you have to allow to do this, or do you guys just get there and you can go through tech quickly, or how does a typical, when you roll in the gate, where do we go from here?
I like to get there pretty early just because it's Derby Day and I'm ready to go.
And you might be excited about it.
But sometimes you do got to do some cutting on your car because it's not, the techs don't like it, so they say cut this, cut that.
So now when you go to the tech line now, I've seen on different shows that guys will have they have to drive up on this big contraption so that they can look under your car. Do you guys have to do that, or do you have to jack it up, or how do the techs do your cars?
No, I haven't done that yet. I've ran the local county fair shows and little ones that we have where I'm from, so I haven't been to a show that's got one of those yet.
So what are guys typically looking for on these cars? Just excess bracing, your suspension's not right, or?
Yeah, bumpers being higher than they're supposed to, extra metal, just stuff that wasn't in the rules that you went ahead and put on there.
Right. So now we roll through tech and say our bumper's too high, or we've got any sundry of things that's wrong with our car. How do we have to fix it? Do they make us cut stuff off? Do they make us cut it and weld it? How do things go?
Yeah, mostly it's usually just cutting it with the torch.
So now, do they have those there? Or do you have to bring a set with you normally?
We bring our own set.
Wow.
That's completely different. I mean, we would never think about bringing a torch,
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool how it's different that way. Is it typical to get something that you didn't do, or did wrong? Is that fairly typical, or is it surprising whenever you get there?
Some guys I think do it on purpose, and some guys just want to put more time into their car and see what they can get by, because you want your car to be as hard as possible, so it's not bending easy.
Well, name of the game is to hit people, so.
Yeah, it's pretty typical to have to cut.
Yeah. So we get through tech, we've had to cut the bumpers and the roof off of it, but by golly, we made it through tech now. So we're running a convertible. What are you thinking about? We were talking about this the other day, and where I'm going with this is, we run heats and features. Do you guys typically run heats or just features only?
They used to run heats at the county fair shows when I was growing up, but you don't see as many cars showing up nowadays, so we usually here the past few years we just been doing it one and done, which is pretty much just the feature.
Right. So now, you got guys, you get a field. What's a good field of cars to run a feature only?
I'd say probably 13, 14 cars.
Be a good feature.
Yeah.
And that's giving everybody enough room to move and to get going and do things,
Yeah.
that you want to do. Instead of being, 25 cars out there in a small arena and everybody's, they don't have any room to do anything.
Yeah, it works out pretty good with that many cars.
Especially for a guy who really likes to get the shots in. Ain't that right?
Yeah.
So now, we line up, and I've always been curious about this, is, some derbies start everybody facing forward. Some derbies start everybody facing backward, diagonally. Is there places and ways that are different on how they start their derbies? Did they just come up with something, or is there like a set of options that they, say, what do you guys want to do?
Sometimes they do ask us what we want. Like they've asked us before if we wanted a rolling start, which is where we all go around the track until they wave the green flag. But I like the just lining up to the wall.
So would you prefer to go forward or backward, or how would you like to start?
I like to face the wall and go backwards.
Because typically you want to use that rear end of that car.
It kind of depends on how your car looks too, and what kind of car you got. If your trunk is almost gone and you're about to blow your humps out, you're going to want to line up facing the other way, facing the other cars that way.
Right.
They can't get a shot on you and shove that in.
So now, do you have the option?
Yeah, you do.
They give you the option?
Yeah.
So you'd rather start going backwards, but is there a spot on the track like you like to be, crowd side, or would you rather be like into the track side?
Yeah, I like to be on the ends. I don't like to start in the middle, because then I feel like then I'm in the middle of all the guys on the outside of me, and
Right.
I'm a target. So I try to get up on the outside somewhere.
Now, do you, is it just the way you line up, or do you have, you can pull into the arena and go pull wherever you want to?
Yeah, pretty much, unless you're like the last guy in, then you're going to park wherever's left. But I like to try to be one of the first ones in. That way I can pick where I want to go.
Hey, that's bad. See, got strategy. All right, so we're lined up. We're ready to go. It's always usually a heads up start, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're doing the rolling start, I guess it would still be heads up. But is it just big surprise? I mean, you're just watching the flagman, or are you watching the cars behind you ready to go? And
you're kind of anxious to go and thinking in your head, just wave the green flag already, and your adrenaline's pumping, and you're just ready to go.
Boy, you're probably sitting there wailing on that gas, ready to go too, ain't you?
I don't, but a lot of guys do.
Well, they got to get their flappers going, man. Exactly. I mean, come on, he doesn't have flappers, so he doesn't have to worry about it. But I would think, man, that seconds before the start, and you're watching for guys that are going to try to jump and different things, because guys are probably thinking, how can I get the best advantage?
Yeah.
Do you like to let the guys beside you or a couple guys get rolling and then you hammer down, or do you like to, you just cram it and go?
Yeah, I don't like to be the first one off the line. I don't go out there with a plan either. I kind of just try to go with the flow and try to figure out what everybody else is doing.
Right. So it's, it's a game.
Yeah.
And we're looking at, a lot of factors that have to go into that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a chess game. You just got to be one step ahead. or 2 steps.
Well, yeah, you probably do have to be that. Do you like for your first shot to be, just a hammer down shot, or do you like to just go and get a couple hits in and see how guys are doing, see how they're going to drive?
Yeah, I like to just kind of get a feel for everything. I don't go and waste my car until I know something's about to go wrong with it.
So now if we're in the middle of a derby and she starts missing, or radiator's been puking water for 20 minutes, you know what I mean? Gauge is pegged. Do we know that that's the time to go, or do we say, I think she'll last a little while?
No, then it's time to put the pedal to the floor
and see what
start
happens.
Start putting on a show for the crowd then.
Well, now, do you look at it that way? Because now, coming out of that, now what I'm picking out of that is necessity. A feeling of, hey, we got to go. You know what I mean? And then do you get a mindset of, I got to put as many guys out as quickly as possible, or try to at least, get other guys to gang up on them?
How I've always thought, if I ain't coming home with the money, I'm coming home with the mad dog. So that's what I told them the first time I ever ran. I told my aunt that, and I got the mad dog that night.
Well, that's the thing is, people don't think about that, and how in the Derby world how special that is, and to be a rookie driver, which is, you're getting into more veteran status now, but being a rookie driver and trying to impress the guys who have been derbying for 20 years. And these guys are singing your praises, and they're like, this guy is somebody to watch. I mean, that resonates around through the grandstands too. I've got to think it does, and you gain fans that way. Is that normally what happens, or?
I don't know of any fans yet, but I'm sure I've been running a couple years now, so I'm sure that there are people out there that are looking for my car each time, but they haven't personally came up to me.
I think there are people that probably recognize the old T22.
Yeah.
And they're wanting to see those big hits from you. So one of the things that we talk about a lot in circle track, the conditions of the track, and the suspension can affect how the track wears on the driver and their body. So the next day after you're done and you've had a rough night, you've laid those big licks, are you sore?
Oh yeah, you feel like you've been kicked and everything else, like you just been beat.
Well, we were talking about the other day, these guys that there was a show on, and you talk about guys from South Dakota and off in the western part of the United States. It was Kings of Crash.
Yeah.
And it came on, and it was a great show. And, these guys are serious about some derbying now. But, is it that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, we saw some stuff happen on that show where one guy's, he got hit, good hit in the front end. He couldn't do anything about it. And his steering shaft came up and smacked him in the face.
Yeah.
Things like that. Do you guys, do you normally run a full face helmet, or do you guys have to do something special to your your steering columns? And
a lot of guys run the full face helmets. I do. I run like a street bike helmet, but on the newer cars, you got kind of like your steering column slides in and out too, so that'll help prevent that.
So you got a steering, what we call collapsible steering shaft.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of stock car guys do run those because, hard front end impacts, hit another car, hit the wall, and, that's a very real possibility that they can shove that steering rod back into you.
Yeah, I had a buddy find that out the hard way too. He didn't have one of those, so he just welded his bar solid there, and we went down to Sturgis to the indoor derby and ran, and he ended up breaking his wrist on it because when the front of the car came up, that steering shaft came back and just broke his wrist.
Wow. Well, see, now something like that, every guy's different. But is that guy going to continue and just try to drive with one hand, or is he going to he's going to be like, look, I'm done, I'm hurt, I got to get out?
That's what he said to me. He looked over at me and said, I'm done.
Well, scoot over, man. I'm going to get in there then, by golly.
So, circle track again. Something happens on the track. Some cars make some contact. Caution flag goes up. Obviously cars are making a lot of contact. In a derby. What's it take to get a caution in a derby?
Usually just a fire or a bumper on the track or somebody's tire off. Some promoters don't even stop them for tires, but a lot of them do.
So you've got people running 3 tires.
Yeah.
It's just whatever you can run.
Yeah, I've seen even a guy's front tire knocked off, and he still went on to win it.
Man, it takes perseverance. Because, you're going to tear this car up. Mm-hmm. And you do your best to try to preserve your car to the end. But we know they're probably not going to make it at the end of the night,
right.
So, and you know that going in. But that's why I was asking you earlier how much a derby, how many derbies can you run on one car? Do they get better with age of derbies, or do they just get worse? You're like, I'm tired of fixing this thing,
They get worse with age, and you get tired of working on the same car, and you get ready to go to something new.
So you looked at, ran that car for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good life on a derby car.
Yeah, I think we got like 6 or 7 runs out of it.
Now did you
and
make
usually they only last maybe 3.
3.
I'd say that's more likely that they're going to run 3 times.
Now, were you able to, pay for a lot of what you had in the car by being able to derby it that many times?
What are you saying?
Well, it cost to build the car, right? So,
yeah.
So you knew you had X amount of dollars in it. Now, were you able to, when you derbied, you were able to run it for 7-8 shows? Were you able to recoup more of your money to pay for your car? I know you're still putting money in it, to fix things, but...
Yeah, each time we ran it, we done a little more and more to it, so we kept putting more money into it and making it better and better.
Right. But I got to think, the more money that you are putting into it to make it better, you're going to be able to finish better because you're going to have better equipment or more, your car is going to be more solid.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, on your fresh cars, you're allowed 4 3x5 plates, and then after it's ran once, it's considered pre-ran, so you can add 2 more 3x5 plates.
So you can have 6 total on your frame.
Yeah.
Now, is that just like you go through your frame, you get the thing up on a lift or whatever, and you're looking, and everywhere your frame's cracked or it's bent, buckled, you guys can kind of fix it the best you can and then plate it?
Yeah, wherever you think it's going to bend, you want to put your first 4 plates, and then wherever it bends after, that's where you put them next to.
So now, you guys, of course, you're going to bend them up. You're going to bend your frames. So now when we were working on these things, and you bring it back to the shop, and you're getting ready to go to the next derby and things, do you guys do you take them to a frame rack, or do you guys use the old tractor in a tree, or how does it? How do we straighten them out? A
lot of guys I see on Facebook, they got car lifts and everything, but me, I just got an old jack and then a old A-frame out back that I use.
And that's how you get them straightened out?
Well, to straighten it out, we usually put them on a trailer and use a winch.
Mm-hmm. And just kind of chain it down and then try to pull the best you can?
Chain the back down and pull them back down. So,
is it pretty effective?
Yeah.
As best as it can be, these things are all beat up, but, So at the end of the night, we finished. How is the camaraderie between drivers? Does everybody get out and start high-fiving and man, you put a shot on me and that was awesome, man, I love the way you did that? Or, boy, I got you, man, and how does it go?
It's like that for the most part, but then every now and then you got them guys that are mad that they got put out and they make a scene, but for the most part, all the guys are good about congratulating each other.
So, that's pretty cool to have a bunch of guys who, intentionally are going to wreck each other.
Yeah.
And to be like, man, I had a blast.
Yeah.
So, do you guys, hang out some, or do you guys, go help on each other's cars, or call each other and say, hey, man, I'm having a problem with this, I don't know what to do, what would you do?
Yeah, most of the guys, if you ask them for help, they'll give you hints and everything. They're not going to let all their secrets out, but they'll help you out a little bit. Unless you build with them, then that's when they'll let you know everything they know. But
probably still to a point until they can
to
make sure they can trust you.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, man, when you think about motorsports, we'll move off of just our experiences at the Derby, but you think about motorsports in general. Is Demolition Derby your favorite form of motorsports, or have you always been like a NASCAR guy, or mud trucks, monster trucks, what have you?
I've always loved Demolition Derby the most, but a couple years ago I went and watched sprint cars, and I'd really like to do one of them if I had the money, but I'm sure they're not cheap. But I think they're awesome how they wheelie down the straightaways and just slide all the way around the turns. I think it'd be a blast.
Listen to this guy, man, talking about circle track racing. You know what I mean? But sprint cars are cool, man, and they're a thing of beauty when they're running. Do you like more the wing sprints, like the professional guys do, or the professional, like the non-wing sprints?
Yeah, I like the ones I watched. I watched the mini sprints and the outlaws. I like the outlaws the most.
So you like the ones with the big, huge wings on them to try to get. There's two schools of thought there, because the non-wing guys, you see these guys are just out of control driving these things. You don't know how they're even freaking getting around the racetrack. But the non-wing guys just look so smooth driving these things. And, you lay off on a 900 horsepower sprint car, and you, just like you said, wheeling down the straightaways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went to Hopstadt and watched them up north of Evansville.
Right.
And the 17-year-old, I guess it was his second year running, he was in second place the whole time. And then on the very last lap, or the very last turn, he slid in front of the first place guy and won it. It was awesome.
It just took you, you're like, hey, this is not what I'm used to, but it's so cool.
Yeah.
And they are. And you talk about Hopstadt and Tri-State Speedway, second to none. I mean, in this Tri-State area, they've just got a beautiful facility, and what they are able to do up there and have success. We talk about it all the time on this show with the Hellfricks up there, are kind of the gold standard for this area on track prep and how to run a racetrack and different things. So, did you have an enjoyable experience just going to the dirt track?
Yeah, I loved it.
So now, do you get to watch any asphalt racing, any asphalt dirt circle track, asphalt dirt track? I mean, I don't know how that's possible, but asphalt circle track.
No, I've never been to one in person.
But have you ever been a NASCAR fan? Do you get into NASCAR?
I used to be when I was younger. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people are. We talk about racing these days and how people are kind of stepping away, from the sport and things. So,
myself though, I'd rather see dirt track.
Absolutely.
If I were to get on YouTube and look up a Derby driver, who's the guy? Who is that guy I should get on YouTube and find? Who's the guy that you like watching?
I like watching Trevor Jones. He's from Washington, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
He wins a lot, but like you see a lot of these guys that go out there and win a lot of derbies, they want to just put around till the very end. But he'll come out there and he's usually the first one off the line making a shot. That's why I like him, because he wins quite a bit and he's the first one off the line.
Well, two things I want to ask you about on that vein is, do you get to go to derbies regularly? And I mean, do you go just to say, I want to go watch the Derby because I want to watch how these guys drive. I want to watch who my competition is, and the guys that you're going to run against that most likely would show up at your Derby. But do you get to go watch these guys and try to see what they're doing and how they're doing things?
Yeah, I always go to the bigger shows down in Sturgis, and there's one in Evansville. I just go when I'm there, and they're on the track. I'm watching what everybody's doing and trying to learn their driving style and everything. And in the pits, I'm just looking at how they built stuff, new things, different things everybody's doing.
Right. And do guys, are they kind of okay if like you walk over to their pit and start talking to them, say, hey, would you mind if I look at your car and stuff? I mean, I run this car over here, but
yeah,
are they pretty cool about it?
Yeah, everybody's pretty cool. They'll answer any question you got, or pretty much like they're your best friend, really. But you know
that you got to watch out for that. You know, that's it.
Yeah,
hey, buddy. You know,
that is a thing. Once you're on the track, it's a different story, because I've had guys before the Derby tell me that to look out for them, they'll look out for me, and then so I ain't worried about them, and then I get blindsided.
No, I've actually experienced, a lot of the same thing with drivers and the racing community. It seems as a whole, obviously there's a couple bad apples here and there, but the racing community as a whole, whether it's circle track or drag racing or derby, everyone wants to help. Everyone wants to make the sport better for the most part.
Yeah.
So I think that camaraderie and that sense of family is kind of a common thread through it all. I mean, is that something that you've seen as well?
Yeah, I see a lot of older guys say if they won't teach the new generation and just help it keep growing, then there ain't gonna be it. There won't be anymore.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about, when I was talking about going to these derbies and things, and watching guys, and you were talking about guys that would putt around. We've always heard some things about sandbagging.
Yeah.
And apparently that's very, very frowned upon by other drivers.
Yeah, it is.
Do they end up paying for that?
Sometimes they do, but usually it's the guys that got the most money in their cars, and nobody wants to go after them because they don't want to get in a battle with them and tear their stuff up until the end. But every now and then you got them few guys like me probably that will just full track them if I got to.
Just waylay them. Huh?
Yeah, just to put a money shot on them.
Well, I've heard that sandbagging is a real thing, and people will do that, and my car's a little messed up, and I can't go. And then at the end of the derby, end up smashing people like their car, nothing wrong with their car, and and they've got a way fresher car than these guys have got that just been out there driving for 45 minutes.
Yeah, it happens every derby, but that's what it takes to win the money sometimes. So I don't look down upon them. Yeah. I don't look down on sandbaggers, but if I got the chance and I'll take a shot on them.
Right. Well, real quick, I want to go to a break, and I want to come back on the other side, and I want to get into what we like to call state of racing, and I also want to ask you some about your advice, and you think about what that is pertaining to the Derby world. So, Tristan, we'll be right back with you, and we'll get some of these other stories.
All right.
Having trouble getting your business vehicle noticed? Want your race machine to look sharp on and off the track? Give Josh Taylor a call at High Octane Wraps and Apparel. They specialize in high-quality vinyl graphics as well as full vehicle vinyl wraps. They can handle jobs of all sizes, whether you're racing go-kart all the way up to your semi-truck. With quick turnaround in design and install, you can truly call today and look good tomorrow. Give them a call at 270-929-2605 or stop by the shop at 2531 West 2nd Street in Owensboro.
And we're back from the red flag. Wes's car was on fire.
It was.
I put him out.
He did.
He rolled around like Ricky Bobby for about 10 minutes, and he's running around the track in his underwear. So we've had to bring him back in. But we're still sitting here with Tristan Baize. And, buddy, real quick, I want to go into something. We think about all the times you've had derbying and running yourself and different things and being at the track. You ever have any good stories? There's just crazy stuff that's happened, funny stuff, things you like to share with us?
The most memorable one I can think of right now is when I'm actually buddies with the guy now. We talk just about every day, but I hit him so hard that his cage came out his driver's side door.
What?
Yeah.
So now was that a full track shot, half track shot, and then just
3/4?
That's gotta hurt. So now this guy, you hit this guy, right?
Yeah.
And his cage comes smacking out the other side of the door. What's his reaction to him? Because I know you guys can see each other right there,
I don't know. I just backed up and tried to go. But I actually didn't even know I knocked the cage out of the door until later on. We was talking about that hit, and he said, "Yeah, you knocked my cage out the side of the door."
You told him, you said, "Well, you should have welded it in better." That's all I'm saying.
Track personnel, there's a cage on the field.
So we're gonna have to red flag this. But now, was he able to continue in the derby, or did that just take him out?
Oh yeah, he kept on going.
Just it was hanging out. Well, hey, somebody's going to knock it back in the other way, surely.
What I think it just shoved where the dash bar and the door bar meet. I think it shoved that part out. But I don't think it all completely came out. I think it just shoved the whole side of the door out.
Well, and you wonder why they call you the Mad Dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got to get this guy a nickname. I mean, they just, he was telling us about what they call you by your last name a lot, and you're just known as Baize, I guess, around the demo pits. But man, we're gonna have to get him a Mad Dog, not Mad Dog. We get him another Mad Dog because he's gonna get it this weekend. I'm telling you. But you're gonna, you gotta have to get you a nickname, man. You gotta have something cool,
Yeah, I'm sure one of these days it'll come.
And that's one of the things that's gonna be beautiful about it, because it'll probably be a veteran or somebody like that's going to give you a nickname, and I know it was special to me. Everybody knows me by that nickname, and it's recognizable. Even if they don't know your name, they know you by your nickname.
Yeah, I'm still pretty new to it, so I'm still kind of getting my name out there, and a lot of guys are just now recognizing me after these past few runs.
Well, they want to know who knocked their door cage out. That's why they're recognizing you.
Who's that guy? I got a sledgehammer for him. Well, you think about your experiences in Demolition Derby so far and in motorsports, and I know you're a relatively, I don't want to call you a rookie, because I don't think you are. I think after you run your first one, your second one or something, I think you're getting the hang of it. But we think about, guys that are getting into the sport, and we talk about motorsports in general and how just people are not into motorsports as much in these days right now. But what advice would you give somebody, it could be a small kid and be a fan, things like that, to get them into the sport, to make them stay in the sport for a long time? What are some of the paths that they can take for success?
First off, I'd say probably find you a Chevy car, that way, like a Caprice or something. That way you've got your starter engine, and you've got you a decent rear end. I think probably a 8.5 comes in them. And just get a good job, really, because it does cost a lot of money, but once you're on that track, it's all worth it.
So now, some of the advice is there, but are there ways to do things like, do you need to align yourself with people? Do you need to start? A good way to maybe get in is start hanging around somebody's garage and say, hey, would you mind if I helped on the car? Different stuff like that before they start driving. But things like that to get yourself, start learning things, tips and tricks. Is that a good way to start?
Yeah, that helps a lot when you know somebody that'll help you out. And because there is a lot of tricks that a lot of veterans know, and where to put certain plates on the cars, and just all kinds of things that I probably don't even know.
But it's stuff that you can pick up from, just watching.
Yeah.
And these guys, a lot of times, especially if a younger kid or somebody that wants to hang out and help out, these older gentlemen or ladies or whatever whoever's derby, because it's open to all sexes. I mean, anybody can derby.
Yeah, there's quite a few women that do derby too.
I bet you've probably been smashed, haven't you? And you're like, golly, hit me hard.
Actually, in Chandler last year, a woman and me did go trunk to trunk. Mine was in the car that I ran for 2 years, so there wasn't nothing there anyway. And I didn't have my slider in, so it just completely buckled in front of the humps and tore my drive shaft all the way out.
Man. And I bet she just put her back in drive and went on up.
Yeah. I shook her.
Man.
I shook her hand after, though. I said, thank you for finally helping me finish this tired off. Because it looked bad.
One of the things that we hear a lot from people that we talk to about, starting and getting in and everything is get in, and when you're young, and get those wrenches turning, be part of it, get involved. And, I think you've kind of echoed that too, is, get in with some of the older drivers to learn where the plates go and things like that. Do you think that getting in there and even before you start driving and getting those wrenches turned, do you think that helps build your awareness and your respect for the sport any?
Yeah, I'd say it would.
Cool.
Well, I want to go into something that we normally do. And obviously, it's been with circle track guys up until this point. But we got a segment we call the State of Racing. And the state of motorsports, as it were, in a whole. You think about Demolition Derby and think about what your sport is. And you watch derbies, you've been to different places, and you've been, you're not just localized, just one little bitty track or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you think about what your sport is, and what is the state of your sport. Do you think Demolition Derby is strong in this area? Do you think it's lacking? I mean, how do you feel about it?
I think it's pretty strong because we got, I like to think, too, of some of the biggest derbies around because there's people that come to Evansville and Sturgis all the way from, Canada and places like that. There's even been guys from, I think, Idaho.
Right.
And they come from all the way out there to here, so I think we've got a pretty big group of guys that love the sport around here. But the county fair shows, I think they're kind of dying out, but it's just the money brings the crowd and the drivers. So
now do you think that's what it's all about? Do these guys, more or less chase the money, or do they just do it because they just love the Derby?
I think a lot of guys chase the money, but you'll never get back what you put into it, I don't think.
Absolutely. And I 100% believe that because I know from a driver's standpoint, with a car, different than you, but along the same lines, it costs money to make these things go. It costs money to fix them. It costs money to get them to the racetrack. They're all the time costing you money.
But it's just the love of it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Well, what do you like about the sport in general right now? Is there something that you think, hey, we're on the right track with this? We're on an upswing because of certain things people are doing.
I think they are on the right track, like the promoters and everything, because they're getting more money and sponsors. And like I said, them guys are traveling from 100 miles away to come and just do a Demolition Derby for 2 days. So they got to be doing something right for guys to be coming from Canada all the way down here.
Right. Well, now, on the flip side of that, and you think about the sport, is there things that you might change or that you think that, I don't know, man, I think this is kind of hurting us a little bit?
I think how they let them guys sandbag, I think, because it's here at these big shows, it's been a few guys winning. I think if they would do something to help that, then I think it'd help it a lot better because the crowd doesn't want to see somebody or cars going back and forth.
Yeah. Doing it just like putting into and bumping each other just to keep hits going.
They want to see a Demolition Derby,
That's exactly
not no bump and grind.
Yeah. And rubbing, and we call rubbing as racing. You've always heard that. It's not necessarily true. Just rubbing on a Demolition Derby track, it's not really racing. But I want you to put your fantasy booking hat on, and I want you to think about things about in your sport. What would you like to see in the future of Demolition Derby? Like if and this could be for guys put on $100,000 derby and whatever, they tie people together or whatever, whatever you can think of that would make it better. Is there specialty races that you'd like to see?
I'd kind of like to see if they'd if there was like a national point series and it met somewhere close, well, as close as could be to everybody in the United States and Canada, I guess, and
right.
I don't know how they would do it, but somehow make a point series and you have so many a year, and then at the end, you got your winner.
So if you had just
I'd like it to be on TV and everything.
Wouldn't that be cool? And that, seriously though, that is a big thing because, television coverage of something like that, you could, people would sell sponsorships like crazy and different things, but people are going to want to watch that. Who doesn't like to watch cars wreck? I mean, they love to watch it on the highway. You look at them gawk at that stuff as they go by. So why wouldn't you want to watch it in a controlled environment?
Yeah, I've watched videos on YouTube. I'm sure you all grew up around it with it being on TV, but I think it was like TNN. They used to actually have demolition derbies on that show on TV.
Yeah,
So,
the old TNN. I mean, that's a good. TNN offered something for everybody, motorsports wise. They loved motorsports.
I even grew up with it a little bit, but
he might be just a little younger than me.
I still remember it.
We talk about local tracks, and local tracks for Circle Track would be Windy Hollow Speedway and Cedar Ridge Speedway. What are local tracks for you?
I'd say anywhere within like 45 minutes.
Okay.
Are there several? Like, I mean, you think about, you got the Spencer County Fairgrounds, and you've got Evansville, and different places, and Sturgis and things.
Yeah, and you got Hallsville, and I think Tell City has one, but I've only been to watch there once.
Right.
But then you got like Otwell and a few places up north.
So you've got a good amount of places to run when you have the opportunity.
Yeah. I'd even like to think of Sturgis is pretty local because it's not far from here.
Right. So, and they have, it sounds like they have a fairly big derby down there. Is it during their fair when they do that, or is it during like the bike week? Or
they do it 2 times a year. One is the team show, and then the other one they call the Redneck Rumble.
But why not? Why wouldn't you call it that, right?
I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at it. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we anyway? We're all rednecks. So. Tristan, buddy, I think we've covered a heck of a lot in Demolition Derby today.
I have a need though. I need to know why he runs the T22.
Okay. Well,
the T's obviously just because my name's Tristan, and then the 22. I grew up playing baseball, and I liked the Cardinals, and I don't know if you all watch baseball, but David Eckstein, he was the leadoff hitter, and he was quick. And when I played baseball, I was the leadoff hitter, and I was quick, so I just kind of liked him. So I used his baseball number 22.
So a different way of going about getting a number.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys will just either, hey, that's what it was. I just I saw it on the side of a box, or something.
Darted a dartboard.
Yeah, or like like my number, it was after Sterling Marlin, in NASCAR. So it's all different ways that you can get it, to get a number, You've always run T22 though. Is that every time?
Yeah.
Do guys in your sport feel like that? I know a lot of circle track guys are just superstitious about. If you change your number, it's bad luck or anything.
I haven't heard it, but I haven't seen anybody change their number either. So
they just kind of run it.
It probably is.
Do you have any superstitions that follow you when you race?
Not really. The only thing I do is I get up as early as I can on Derby Day, and I just go over the whole car and make sure everything's tight down, make sure everything's welded, and every bolt and everything's where it should be.
How often do we hear that? How many guests do we hear talk about how important it is for that preparation before they ever get to the track?
Exactly.
And then I make sure I got all my tools and everything gathered up.
So it's a lot. I mean, see, that's
kind of a lot of similarities, ain't it?
It is. Because we would go through the same thing, I mean, I get up early on race day, and I get out there in the garage, and I go over a lot of things. And
I scrub tires.
He did. Well, we scrub tires in our sport, But, it's pretty cool how there is similarities, even though that we can draw conclusions. And we're not so far away, you know what I mean? Racing-wise, we're still in motorsports. We still love to do it. And we still love what we do, each our own niche, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, Tristan, tell us real quick about the people that help you out and make your car go and how you're able to do what you do.
I do a lot of the work on my own, but my cousins help me, and I got a few buddies that come over every now and then and help me. But for the biggest part on this car, I've pretty much done it all myself.
Well, name those cousins and your buddies because they'd love to get a shout out on a podcast, I'm sure.
Anna Van Horn, Kyle Bradburn, Stephanie Van Horn, Chris Hayden, Eric Leslie, and Charles Nix.
There you go.
We are glad that you guys have helped him earn these Mad Dog Awards. He needs more, so get out there and help some more.
Well, you named a couple of ladies. Do they like to get in and get dirty and turn wrenches and things like that? Or they like to supervise and you guys do all the work?
And they get in there and turn some wrenches sometimes, or pull hoses if I need them to pull it under the seat.
Hey, it's a family show.
From the front, yeah. But Anna, she's actually riding with me. This will be her second time, so she loves it just as much as I do.
So you guys can have riders.
I can ride?
Yeah.
What?
You do not West Ride.
Come on.
They've been there screaming.
Yeah, there used to only be a few shows that would do it, but now pretty much everywhere does it that I know of.
Wow. I can't believe we didn't get into that earlier. I didn't even think about them, having riders, because I've only, usually see just one person in a derby car.
Yeah, you're allowed riders pretty well everywhere now.
Well, that's pretty cool, man.
We're building a derby car.
Well, we can build a buddy derby car.
We are.
Well, Tristan, do you have any sponsors that help you out?
A buddy derby car down here at Sturgis. I think it'll be in the fall. At the team show, they're doing they call it a buddy heat. Mm-hmm. One guy controls the wheel and the shifter, and the other one's got the gas pedal.
You ain't controlling the wheel.
Well, hammer down.
That's all it's
going to be.
Go, man. We'll be all right. But do you have any sponsors that help you out? Any businesses that are helping out with your car, pay for any fuel or tires or anything?
At the moment, I don't, but I wish I did.
Well, you know what? That needs to change. And that needs to change right now, because, we need to get some guys and some people, some fresh faces, some fresh sponsors in the sport of Demolition Derby. So, we've got a guy here that earns these accolades. He drives like a mad dog, right? He's going to be aggressive. And people are going to want to watch that car. Why wouldn't you want to put your business on there, right? And help these and help Tristan out. You know what I'm saying? So, if we got any businesses listen, he's always accepting sponsorships.
Any little bit would help.
5 to 500, by golly, he'll take it.
And from what it sounds like, it's an untapped market for sponsorships. So,
I think so.
You businesses out there, you want to reach a whole new demographic, get that sticker on the side of his car.
Demographic.
I see what you did there.
But Tristan, man, we can't thank you enough for coming on this episode, man, and sitting down with us and talking to us about Demolition Derby and giving us some insight and some inside stuff that, we wouldn't have known. Wes was out in left field before this started. I've always just watched, so I've never really been able to do a whole lot in the Demolition Derby scene. So, from us, we thank you for coming.
I thank you all for letting me come here. I'm sure I left a lot of stuff out too, and there's still a lot to learn. So if anybody sounds interested in it, look farther into it, and maybe it'll be your love too.
Or they can just tune into part 2 of Tristan Baize, the Mad Dog.
After he wins the next Derby he's in.
No, you're going to be back.
Which is going to be the Spencer County Fair, right? Rockport, Indiana.
Yeah.
This Saturday, June
9th at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. And they've got just an arena that they have there set up, and everybody can pretty much figure out where to go, right?
Yeah, it'll be at the Spencer County Fairgrounds or City Parks, in Rockport City Park.
Yeah. They're going to do it right in the middle of the city of Rockport.
I'm excited about that. No,
it's pretty well in the middle.
You're going to come back. You're going to have another episode or 6, however many you want to have. We want you back. We want you to help spread the love of the sport. We want to get more fans in the stands or on the grass, wherever they're at. So please come back. We look forward to it.
Talk to us again and tell us how you've been doing, and we're going to keep up with you, and we're going to try to make it out to some of these derbies whenever our schedule allows. We're not stock car racing, so everybody go support it. Support motorsports, whether it be what that is. And Demolition Derby, I'm gotta tell you, is a great friggin' time. I'm excited to see my first one. Well, he's excited to ride now. Apparently we got to build a car, so So again, Tristan, thank you for coming on, and we do appreciate it, and we hope to have you back soon. Thank you.
Let's face it, we love racing and we need to keep those race machines in tip-top shape to stay competitive. That's why we rely on Mach 5 race cars and parts. Located at 2035 West 2nd Street in Owensboro, Kentucky. They specialize in stock cars, but you'll find all the parts you need for your racing go-karts as well. They are your go-to experts for parts, wheels, tires, fuel, and a wide array of other items to keep you on the track. They have hundreds of parts in stock and can special order thousands of others. Give John Hayden a call today at 270-240-5587.
And we're back to close this episode out of the Ben Fender podcast. Man, Wes, our car is tore up. It's been on fire. You been on fire?
I was on fire. Stop, drop, and roll does work.
In the mud hole.
It does.
With fire extinguishers shooting all over you.
You were in the berm.
I was in the berm for a little bit, but I got out.
Yep.
So, Tristan got the Mad Dog.
He did.
I'm hoping to get, here's the thing, man. We talk about the Mad Dog Award, and that's a great award. It's kind of like a hard charger, man, but we want him to get the money. We want to get him all the monies.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, he's my favorite Demolition Derby driver now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the only one I know, but he's my favorite.
But you know what? He's the only one that took time with us so far to come and talk on this episode.
So far.
And that makes him special to us.
It super does. And I kind of feel guilty a little bit because I'm not going to say that I shortchanged his episode, but because I wanted to know as much about Demo as I could.
Right.
We veered off the normal course of the episode, and we spent a lot of time learning his sport, but his sport is so different than yours. So I think it was important that we did that. So, Tristan, if you're listening, or if you've made it to this point and you're re-listen of the episode, I do want you on for another episode so we can give you all the time you deserve.
Well, not only that, though, that he's been able to, we got to talking before he cut out of here, and he's like, man, I know I could have more stories. I was like, then why not come back on and tell them, man? Because that's the thing. That's the beauty of podcasting. We can always do a part 2.
And I look forward to a part 2. And
or we can do an amendment to an episode. I mean, refresh, remix. You know what I mean? So it's good stuff, man. I think we've had fun today learning about something that I've spent my life watching. I've been watching Demolition Derbies for years.
I have never seen one except what I've seen on TV.
They're pretty cool, man. I got to tell you.
I'm going to go support him. I am going to, follow his career and hope that he does fantastic things.
Well, and I think that one of the big takeaways from this episode that, as much as we've learned, is that, this guy needs sponsors. He's doing every bit of this out of pocket, and he needs some help. He's shown that he can be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a little bit of our mission to help him out a little bit.
So, business owners, I know you're out there.
Yeah.
I personally know some of you are listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you've got any advertising money left over in your budget, then shoot it his way. He's a good guy. He loves this sport as much as the rest of us love motorsports.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, and here's the thing. His sport is so like you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And you might run one derby and it's over, but then like he said, he might get 8 derbies out of it.
Sure.
So sponsorship costs could be very lucrative for you.
It amazes me though. I mean, listening to the fact that he's running around there in that track with a helmet and a lap belt on, that just amazes me. I would absolutely need a 15-point harness, all the points in the harness.
No, you can't have that many.
I want them.
Nah,
that's what I want in my passenger seat. Buddy.
in the buddy derby.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty cool though, man. I wish, like I said, I wish we had some more time, and we got to think, we got to be mindful of his time because, he gave up his time after work. He's worked all day
in a barge,
right? And he came up here to record an episode with us. So that's in itself, it's pretty
taken
cool.
away from his family and
and his derby car because family's more important, obviously. But his derby car, he's got to run a derby Saturday. Here it is Tuesday.
I would think that the derby car is part of his family.
Absolutely.
Much like you think your car is part of the family.
It absolutely is.
I don't think Sarah agrees, but I think.
Oh well. But
no, it was great. We learned a lot. We hopefully have made a new friend, and you guys listening now. Hopefully your curiosity is piqued.
Yeah.
And
because
you want to go see this dude do his thing.
Because it's just something, and I realize most of you guys listening are circle track folk. But take your kids to see something new sometime, and while I'm all a proponent of going and supporting a track on a Saturday night, a dirt track, they need support too.
Well, and it's at a fairground,
right.
So I'm going to assume that there's at least funnel cakes.
Yeah, you gotta have funnel cakes.
I mean, it's at a fair, right? Spencer County Fair. Is that what's going on?
That's it.
So there's going to be funnel cakes. Funnel cakes and Demolition Derby. I mean, what's better than that?
I'm pretty psyched about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though I can't go because I got to work. But maybe you can go.
I will see what's on my schedule and see if I can make a trip over there.
Well, because it would be pretty cool. And it definitely we're going to know somebody running, and that makes all the difference in the world. It's just
me.
like you said that, multiple episodes about how it's so much better whenever you can figure out, somebody running, it's a lot easier to pay attention, not that it's not great racing action, even if you don't know the drivers, and that's how you get to learn who new drivers are.
Right.
But it's good to have, that knowledge of somebody out there running.
No, for sure. And I absolutely enjoy that. And I'm excited to get out there and learn more about it and see it face to face, and maybe drop the $50 to sorry, that was hard for me to say, to go into a pit, but maybe get a pit pass and go meet some more guys.
That is a hefty price, and that maybe we didn't ask him, but that may be just to drive. Maybe pits are cheaper than that for spectators or crew or something. But
well, it's a question we can ask on episode 2.
Yeah, or we can just show up at the fairgrounds. How much to get in? I think that I think he was a little nervous on this episode, and I think he did smashingly well.
He
very,
represented
very well.
it. He represented his track product. He represented himself.
We did put a little pressure on him at the start and be like, "You're the guy. You're the flagship guy." So
give us all of the information.
Yeah, and he did a great job.
He did fantastic job.
And I've enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it because I enjoy every episode. But to do something new, it's good to do something new every so often.
I agree.
I mean, I absolutely love circle track racing, but I love Demolition Derby. I love monster trucks and different things. So, it's sad that our Davis County Fair has tried derbies in the past, and it just didn't get the support that it should have. But I don't know. What can we do to start the conversation? What can we do to try to get these people to listen and to pay the money and have these guys show up and put on a show?
Well, I think if you think back to Blake Smith's episode and Billy Igler's episode, talking about how motorsports in this area just doesn't seem to be as welcome in the community as it once was. Maybe those are conversations that we can start having again to get cars at the barbecue festival, to get more, enjoyment out of the community.
Well, who wouldn't want? Listen here, we love unloading our race cars downtown and driving them up 2nd Street or 4th Street or 3rd Street, whatever have you down there, and parking them so where we can get. And people are hearing them running, and it's cool. Imagine getting a derby car off the trailer and driving that thing down there, bouncing everywhere. It'd be cool as heck, man.
36-inch headers with flappers.
No flappers, apparently.
No, we need. We'll get him some. We'll borrow some flappers for him.
We'll screw some to the top of it. That'd be cool. And the city of Owensboro really needs to take a mind to get back to having motorsports affiliated things. The Motorsports Festival was huge. It used to be huge. And the racetracks would always have special races and different things. Why couldn't you have a derby in there somewhere?
I agree.
I don't know. It's worth asking and worth the questions they're asking. I think we've proven, at least the last 2 episodes, we're not afraid to ask the questions. And, and our guests aren't afraid to ask the questions. So again, I think this show's going up. I think that anybody who thinks this show's not is misinformed, because guys, I mean, we talked about it at the radio show last night. That was on a Monday, and we were at 789 downloads. We're well over 800 today, just in one night, and that's just this time last night when we checked it. So people are listening. People are supporting the show. And here's the thing. We're supporting our sponsors. We're 100% supporting our sponsors. I've talked to them personally, and they agree. And that's what I'm saying is that we're supporting our sponsors, whether we can race or whether we can't. That's the beauty about having a podcast. That's the beauty about having social media, is we can promote these people 24 hours a day, and we can do it for you. Do it now. I'd do it for you.
Well,
and I will do it for you. And we've proven that we will do it for anybody that comes on this show.
And I think what we've also built with the podcast is this isn't just a summer thing. So when the fall hits, when the winter hits, and we've got race fans that are tired of staring at the same 4 walls because they're snowed in, we can bring them a little bit of racing to their lives every week.
Bring some stories, bring some memories from the track. that maybe that they remember, maybe that they don't remember, maybe they remember it a different way. I don't know. But they can get those stories, get your racing fix. I mean, if you got to go out while you're doing it and rev your car up in the middle of the driveway, then do it.
We've got some new equipment, obviously, as you heard, since I butted in on the episode.
Yeah.
We now have 4 microphones.
Yep.
We have the ability to have more guests. We're going to get some more equipment, so that way we can bring those shows that you want to hear.
Right, and that's the main thing. I mean, it's just like racing. We got to have equipment. And, we can't thank people that help this podcast out enough, and people that are giving up their time to come on here. Podcasting still costs a little bit of money. It does. We have to host the podcast, we have to host the website, and host it. So it's a little bit of money, but that's okay. We enjoy it.
No, absolutely.
But we would also appreciate the help too if you're willing.
This is the highlight of my week, to get to sit down and meet somebody new or talk to somebody old, hang out with Nathan and spin some yarns. So we're committed to do this for as long as you'll have us. For as long as the guests tolerate us.
Right. Because, I mean, here's the thing. It's not just about us. We've said this a million times now. It's not about us. It's absolutely not about us. We're doing this for you guys.
Yep.
And I hope you believe that, because this is about the fans. This is about the other racers. I'm a race fan at the end of the day, and I love hearing friggin' stories, man. I do. I love talking racing.
And amazingly, I'm going to stand up and say, hello, my name is Wes Llewellyn, and I am a race fan.
You are, and that's
a good
thing.
I am now, and it's it's a good thing, and I'm glad you guys are along for the ride with us, whether it be in a mini stock or a derby car or a open wheel modified.
Right.
We're gonna cover it all, and we will find my rallycross driver one day.
We will, and we're gonna do that. I mean, I joke with Wes about that, and he's all about persistent about rallycross drivers, but we're gonna find one. And whatever we got to do, we'll make it happen.
Who are we gonna thank for making sure we get our bills paid?
Well, we're taking care of our sponsors. And just like I said a few minutes ago, I got a little emotional about it. But anybody who doesn't think we don't take care of our sponsors and try to make this show the best we can be, if you guys listen to this show in its entirety, you hear professionally produced commercials by several people that have sat down to take the time to do those commercials for us. And we're talking about Steve Horn. He's a former DJ at WBKR. We have a buddy of mine, Norman Byers, who used to be in radio. I mean, people are coming on here and producing these because they believe in it too. And they want these products to be the best they can be.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're doing what we're doing. And it's for the fans, for the drivers, it's for the sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of the ones who take care of you. And I challenge anybody else to match it.
Absolutely.
So anyway, Mach 5 race cars, parts and carts. See John Hayden and the folks down there. Fairview IT Management, Gabriel Kirtley and his gang can keep your computers running, and all a sundry of different electronic devices they can help with.
Yep.
Martin's Towing and Recovery out of Owensboro. Chad's Barbershop right here in Whitesville, Kentucky, just off 764, just past the IGA. Glenstone Construction out of Henderson, Kentucky. Slingshot Media Group, Kevin Russell and those people. Again, that's part of the sponsorship deals. They can provide you with sponsorship opportunities. Well, getting your business out there is what I mean.
Advertising opportunities.
Yes, that's what I mean. And, go see those guys. Contact them today. Find out what they can do for you. They're in a lot of different places and going in a bunch more now.
Yep.
So you're going to get your ads out there. And, with that, let's mention Red Star Graphics. Because those guys, can design those ads for you and get them on the Slingshot Media televisions.
High quality, professional, rapid turnaround.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're looking for the podcast, and I make that joke all the time, you've already found it. But tell your friends. Well, you can find us at iTunes for you Apple folks, Google Play for the Android folks. I need to start switching that up because Apple always goes first.
Oh, you're an Apple user.
I am.
I'm an Android user.
I mean, yeah. Why not? Point and click, buddy. You can find it on Podcast Addict. It's a great podcasting app that you can use. Podbean.com is where we host the podcast. You can join there and listen to it. Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, YouTube, right? Website,
Yep.
which is www.conwayracingteam.com. We have all the episodes uploaded there as well. And currently going in an overhaul. We're actually adding things. We were actually adding things about an hour ago. So
We were.
It's good stuff. So we're going to get some more pictures up there, some more videos, and change some colors around and update it to the new flags.
We're putting a new wrap.
Putting a new wrap on the
website.
Yeah, full wrap, as it were. You can find us on Facebook, Conway Racing Team, Twitter @Conway Race Team, Instagram Conway Racing. Guys, go out and support your local racing tracks. Or motorsports venues, whatever those may be. Whether it's Windy Hall Speedway, Cedar Ridge Speedway, Tri-State Speedway, the Spencer County Fair, the Davis County Fair, any local motorsports where they run motocross, mud trucks, go-karts, go out and support it.
If it has wheels and an engine, support it.
It's easy to do. Here's the thing. If you miss that race, you might find it on YouTube. You might find it on a Facebook Live. If you miss that movie in the theater, A, you've saved money, number one. But number two is you can catch it on DVD.
Yep.
You can catch it on your Xbox, your Fire Stick, whatever. So don't miss racing.
Nope.
Don't miss local racing. It's just in the summer. We wish it was all year, but support it. Support the sponsors. Support the tracks. Support the drivers. We can't say it enough. Now, along those lines of supporting it, every Monday night, Maloney's in Owensboro, you can go to Regional Motorsports Power Hour. We were just there this past Monday night with Blake Smith, host of that fine show. Always does a great job. I said every Monday night, right?
Yep.
7 to 8:30.
Yep.
I know that they are currently running specials that if you come in there and get 12-inch or above pizza, it's 25% off your order. So you save money.
It's a good deal.
That's right. It's a good deal. And we love a deal.
We love deals.
We do. And you can find that show on 102.7 The Game, ESPN The Game, and 94.7 WBIO if you happen to miss it. And you can catch their reruns after the show, which is good too, on their Facebook page or the website, I think. So, support these things, guys. Support these shows. Support racers. We can't say it enough. And support the sponsors.
Yes, sir.
I said it 100 million times. And you know what? We got 100 million episodes to go. We're going to say it again.
Keep saying it.
That's right. So, guys, we appreciate you being with us and taking the time to listen to something a little bit out of the ordinary on this podcast. We got the bent fenders for sure. And that's the whole point.
Bent doors, bent everything.
We've been everything. We've been some feelings, maybe.
Not this episode.
Oh, yeah, in that closing I did been a little feelings, maybe. But Wes, buddy.
Nathan.
Wes, the slider, Lou Allen.
I like that one.
Well, yeah, that's good. But now if we go back to a different episode, we're going to have to figure something else.
No, that's just my nickname for Derby.
Yeah.
So we'll hold on to that one for the next Derby driver.
That's right. So I'm Nathan Conway, and we appreciate you being with us, and we'll hope you join us next time.
You've been listening to the best up-and-coming motorsports podcast on the internet. Tune in next week to see who we're trading paint with on the Bent Fender Podcast.